Hi, I'm Talicza.
And I'm Rachael, and this is Transatlantic Crime, a true crime podcast that covers stories from each side of the pond. Every week, we will both cover a separate story with a running theme.
Disclaimer, this podcast will contain swearing and details that some people may find offensive. If you are of a sensitive disposition, listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Transatlantic Crime.
So close.
So
Right.
this
Yeah,
is fine.
speaking of work, I just got out of work like 2 hours ago.
Fucking hell, Rachel, you really are doing God's work. Oh my
I
God.
know. I had someone at work tell me, like, you should not do this. You should, like, go home and stop working so much. I'm like, well,
Are you like a poo when he goes, said like once he did like a, can't remember how many hours it was like a 76-hour shift or something, and he goes, I thought I was a hummingbird, and then like you just see footage of him going like across the screen.
I think
It's
10
amazing.
years ago, that was definitely me. But now I'm like, I know my limits. I can do this once because I know I get to sleep in tomorrow, but like, I'm not
big
doing
time.
this every day.
No. Well, do you want to hear something nice? I woke up, my alarm went off at 6:30 because I need like time to wake up. I can't just like wake up straight away and do stuff. I need to like ease into it. So I woke up at 6:30 and then I was like, right, I'll set the alarm for 7. Then I woke up at 7. Then I wrote my story. Then I had no resentment in my heart for this. Like, you know, like when you wake up, when your alarm goes off for work and you're like, how can I fake my own death? Like,
yes.
Yeah. You're like
What
just thinking of
excuse do I have
ways.
today?
You're like, if I threw myself out that window, would I break my legs? Like,
Or like hoping for a natural disaster.
yeah. Or like, I'm really sorry, I can't do it. My head exploded. Like anything. Like, I had none of that.
My car broke down and my sister broke her leg and
A raccoon came
I
in.
have to take my dog to the vet.
All of that.
Because
and
they got
I've been
in a
sick
fight.
down myself.
Not because I'm hungover. I'm just sick.
Not because I'm hungover and I hate you. No, none of that. I didn't have any resentment in my heart, and oops, sorry, just nearly knocked my drink over. It kind of reminded me of that bit in a Peep Show where Mark has got his baby, and he goes, "I changed him earlier, pissed all over me, no bad feeling." That's how I feel about this podcast. Like, I changed it earlier, pissed all over me, no bad feeling.
Yeah, it's still beautiful in its own way.
Still love it. Can't really. It doesn't make me resent it. Yeah, it's great. And then my mum, I met my parents because this week I had a really bad like mental health week. Like Monday and Tuesday, I was just like on the fucking edge of throwing myself off the Bristol Suspension Bridge, and it's basically because I've sort of realised that like my relationship with my dad is like I can't fix it. I thought there was part of me that was like, I can fix it. And I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden my heart just went, no, you can't. And it made me so bitterly sad. It was like he died. So I was just so fucking sad this week. And I was like, I just want to go home and see my mum. And then also like I called her, I was talking to her about it. And I was like dad hasn't like been that nice to me. And she was like, you're fucking telling me.
Oh no.
She was like, dude, preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
And then I came home and she just texted me just now going, what time are you getting up? What time do you want breakfast? Would you like a coffee? And I was just like, you are an angel sent to this earth.
Yeah.
I just
Georgie
can't get enough
an
of
angel.
Fuck me, that woman. When is the Queen going to invite her for her OBE? Like, when is it going to happen? I don't know.
You should nominate her. We're officially nominating her through this podcast, which obviously reaches the Queen of England.
Old Lizzie's listening. So, yeah, that's enough about my suicidal tendencies on Monday and Tuesday. How about you? How's your week gone?
Well, as I just told you, I finished.
You've been
work 2 hours
hummingbirding
ago at
You're just going to
10:30
across the CCTV.
The rest of the podcast will just be a sound of a hummingbird while you're telling your story.
Apologies, Rachel can't tell her story. She's now a hummingbird.
But yeah, it hasn't been really nice staying at work late, but I still like my job, and
well, I like a
people I work
project,
with.
you know.
Yeah,
I like to be kept busy. The devil makes work for idle hands. I find.
Yeah.
You'll be happy to know all my eBay shit is finished, so I'm sending all of that out today.
Did any listeners buy anything?
I don't know.
Yeah.
If you did, let me know. It's kind of all people up north that bought it.
Oh.
There was nobody down south. Maybe eBay is like bigger up there. I don't know, but
maybe. Yeah.
I've also kind of decided that I'm gonna start buying my clothes off eBay as well, because it's just like one big swap shop.
Yeah.
Why pay the corporate people when fast fashion is bad? And I'm so not precious about stuff being like worn by other people. I'm like, give me all your old shit. I don't care. Like,
I think we've talked about that before.
Yeah, we really have. Like how I don't wash stuff when I get it from a charity shop. No point.
Looks fine. We're good.
Oh, what? You think you're better than me?
That's great. I'm glad you sold your stuff, and I hope anyone who's listening who's bought it enjoys it.
They will. That's some quality goods.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that. Also, I just wanted to give a shout out like this week. A couple of people bought us a coffee. So, you know, buy me a coffee. I cannot remember who you are because it's 8 a.m. and I'm so sorry about that. But you know who you are.
We'll get your names for next week.
And I'll get your names for next week. And we love you and thank you very much. And
yes.
Think of your money as paying Georgie for bringing me my coffee. Like, that's what's happened. So yeah, your angels also. I'll nominate you for an OBE if I get the chance to ever speak to Liz.
Yes.
I think she's gonna
live to our number one listener, the Queen of England.
The fucking Queen of England is about 98 or like 97, like because basically in England when you get to 100 you get a letter from the Queen. Did you know that?
Yes, I did know that, but I know where you're going with this. Like,
yes, so she's going to write that to herself. Like everybody says that. Yeah, so we'll just see. Oh, and by the way, I was at a pub on Thursday. Somebody dropped a glass, and I was the only person that shouted "Wear hay." So, like, apparently that's going out of fashion. Apparently, it's not okay anymore to mock people. Is PC gone mad, Rachel?
Oh no!
I'm like, obviously, I don't think that. I think people just haven't been out for so long that they've forgotten the etiquette, which is
I forgot about that until you mentioned it.
Yeah, but nobody like looked at me as if to go, "Why are you doing that?" I think they all went, "Oh yeah, that's what we do."
Like surprised, like something from my past.
Like shit. Yes, we did used to do that.
Yeah.
Have you got any news? Any true crime news?
Any true crime news? No, not since that bombshell Rodney Alcala died.
Fuck.
That's the biggest bombshell that I've had.
I hope they just chucked his corpse in a dumpster and just somebody pissed on him. I don't know what they do to prisoners when they die,
agree.
But I hope somebody just fucking like fed him to pigs or something so that he's at least of use.
Dumped him in I don't know.
It's really late and really early.
Yeah, it is.
Like, I don't know.
I'm sorry to our listeners. We're going to have a lot of unfinished sentences today while we find our thoughts and words.
Oh, God. Right. So there's been a massive bit of true crime news in England this week.
Oh,
so
what is it?
And it is such a fucking weird one because it's like a swap of events. In England, you know, usually we have like I think the most common things we've had recently have been like terrorist attacks, like on London Bridge and stuff. But basically, I think it happened like 2 days ago or a day ago, but in Plymouth, which is in the southwest of England on nearly like Cornwall, Devon way, there's been a mass shooting.
Oh.
Yeah. So no, me neither. Carly came and told me. So he shot dead his mother, who was 51, and then a 3-year-old girl and her dad. And then he shot himself. So, and there's 6 people in total.
Oh, wow.
So he was basically, he's a fucking incel. So he's called Jake Davidson. He was 22. Oh, it was Thursday evening it happened. And like, they're trying to figure out if he knew any of the people and whether it was like a personal vendetta or if it was just completely random.
Go out and just, was it in a specific spot?
Yeah, he just near his house, basically. Like he didn't go in a car. I think he was on foot because I'm looking at a map of it now, and it's literally like one street, basically.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, so Jack Davidson enters a house where he opens fire, killing a relative. That was his mum. Then he leaves the house and shoots a girl who was 3 and her adopted dad, and then he shoots and injures 2 local residents, a man and a woman, who later died in hospital. Then I think one of them died in hospital. And then he's just on foot, and then he shoots the man who dies at the scene. And then, so he started this at like 6, and then at like 6:23 he shoots himself. But yeah, and it was a pump action shotgun, which he had a license for. And he is, oh my God, he's got such a fucking neck beard. Like, he is such a fucking incel. Like, he looks, basically, if you don't know what an incel is, it's involuntary celibate. It's like a movement. That's what it stands for. And it's people who
started
like think
on
that,
Reddit.
Yeah, it's like people who think that women should have sex with them, but they won't. So they're like, they can't help the fact that they're celibate, and like women are basically bitches. So it's like a misogynistic group of ugly men who are dicks.
And they have all these, who are just bitter, and they have all these like weird
names for people,
ways
right?
And ways of thinking. And for somebody who is like 20 and maybe is still a virgin and, hasn't had a good connection with a woman, because it is men, isn't it? Incels,
it's all men. 100%. It's 100% men. I
can see how you start to become bitter and you're trying to explain it away, and those people just like suck you into it. Like,
it's like forums and YouTube channels devoted to it. Yeah, basically. And I heard like a YouTube video that they played on the news. You can Google like Jake Davidson YouTube videos, and it's basically him saying like, "Oh, I've just given up," like kind of thing. And
listen, but anyone who's 22 who's thinking about giving up, there's so much that changes in the next 5 years of your life, the next 10 years of your life. Dude. You have so much time.
Try stop being a little arsehole, and then maybe someone might wank you off. That's my advice. You're obviously
give yourself
not that nice a person,
and give everyone else love, and things will be better for you.
Stop
thinking about yourself so much.
I love the show Bottom. Like, obviously, I know this is not an okay thing to say, but on Bottom, like, Richie is kind of an incel.
Yeah,
he's virgin. Eddie, his friend, like, is a bit of a like Casanova. But Richie's like really nervous around women, and Richie goes, "Why doesn't anyone ever want to sleep with me?" And Eddie goes, "There's loads of ugly birds out there. One of them is bound to do it with you sometime or later." Like that's what I feel like saying. Not the ugly part, but like there's loads of women out there. One of them is bound to do it with you sooner or later.
Yes, it'll happen. Also, there's nothing wrong with being a virgin. It's okay too.
Also, just hire a sex worker. Like, that's what they're there for. It is. They don't care.
Yeah.
Like, they're like,
but
sure, give me the money. I'll fuck you.
There's such a big pressure to have sex that there doesn't have to be. If you haven't had it, it's okay. You don't have to like hire someone to do it, or if you want to, you can. There just doesn't have to be so much pressure on it.
Oh, I could easily go without it for the next 100 years. Easily. Don't care. I mean, that might be my antidepressants, like killing my libido to the point of like literally nothing turns me on anymore. Maybe just go on some antidepressants and then you won't care as much and you won't want to fuck anyone. Like, two birds, one antidepressant.
There's so much more to life than if you're a virgin, it's fine. If you're not a virgin, it's fine. Like, there's just so much more to life. Stop worrying so much about it.
And definitely don't go and shoot anyone, for fuck's sake.
Oh, yeah. That is the end of that story.
Uh-huh. In this country, you're allowed a shotgun if you're like a farmer, or you could say like, there's foxes on my land, I own chickens,
right.
Or there's badgers like in my fucking fields and they're ripping my sheep's legs off or whatever. You can have a shotgun for that. Or you can say you go clay pigeon shooting. It's all like country pursuits, basically, and that's the only way you would get a gun.
Yeah.
And so he had one, and so now there's going to be a massive inquiry as to why he had a gun, because he lives in a rural area. It doesn't really seem to be a reason. So I think that will tighten our gun laws.
They're going to start cracking down on like who has guns and why and are they mentally stable.
In England, we do not tolerate gun crime.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like gangs and stuff have guns, but they're like imported from shit knows where.
Right.
But officially, gun ownership is so tight. So they're gonna, I think as a result of this, there's going to be like some tightening of the laws, which is good. And
that is really good. I think that's what New Zealand did as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they had that mass shooting a couple years ago.
Is it Christchurch they had the shooting? It was a mosque, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then when that happened, they were like, all right, time to crack down on gun laws. Obviously, here in America, that's a different story.
You can buy a gun like you can buy a fucking donut.
You can't.
I'm joking. But you have shops. Well, to be fair, I'm talking about Memphis. Like, I went to a place called the Pyramid in Memphis, which is a sports goods and hunting place. In fact, there's a really good picture of me with a stuffed bear that I'll put on the Instagram. but yeah, there they have like a wall of guns that you can just buy.
Yeah, there's an ammo shop right down the street from me. I've never been in it. I don't know what it looks like inside, or if you can buy guns as well as ammo. That is
so fucking mad to me. Like, you do not understand how mad that is to me.
Well, where do you buy ammo in England? What do you do for that?
Nobody knows the answer to that question. I don't know anyone who would know the answer to that, because we just don't have them. And this is no judge. I'm not like judging you.
For hunters and stuff. I know you're not judging, but like, where do they get their stuff to shoot the foxes or whatever?
I fucking honestly don't know. Like, I'll try and find out, because my brother's wife, her dad is a gamekeeper. So basically, loads of rich people go to an estate that he works on, and they shoot pheasants and clay pigeons
they
and
set them off.
Yeah, and they have like hunting parties and with like really cute spaniels. So I will ask him about that and be like, where the fuck did you get a gun from?
Find out.
He probably has loads like of guns. But
I want to know about ammo. That's
same place you get them, I guess.
I guess so, but
oh my god,
you know,
it's so funny. So I'm like, basically, I'm kind of seeing this guy, and he was like, I bought an air gun. Like, he was like really excited about it. It's got like BBs in it.
Yeah.
And it's in like a proper case.
Oh, wow.
Like a metal case. And like in England, that's as excited as we can get. It's like a BB gun with like plastic BBs, not like metal ones. So it's doing no harm to anyone unless you shoot them directly in the eye. It's just so funny.
I mean, they can sting a little bit, I've heard.
Yeah, but it's not going to fucking blow your brains out, is it? I think if you shot someone in the ear, you'd be in trouble, but... Any
orifice.
Nothing up the nose, nothing in the throat. Just keep it away from the head area in general would be my advice. So who goes first today?
I go first.
Ooh, okay. Awesome. And do you want to explain our theme?
Yeah, so I just thought with the Olympics on, we'd do another sports theme.
Mm-hmm.
So our theme this
week
is
done one
crime
in a while.
and sports. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll watch the Olympics if it's on.
What's your favorite?
Obviously,
event?
America does great, so
it's
great to watch.
Yeah,
when your team wins.
I bet America's. I didn't watch this year, but I bet America's are good swimmers.
Good swimmers, good gymnastics. They're always really good there.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of drama in that area. Ooh. I don't know if you guys are getting that drama, but
don't know. What's the drama?
Simone Biles, she's like top in the world.
Oh yeah, didn't she take time off because of mental health reasons?
Yeah, she just decided not to compete, which was positive in so many ways.
Oh my god, I'm so happy for her.
Begin.
What a badass to actually stand up and go, no thanks, it'll drive me mad. It's not worth it.
Yeah, and one, it helped her, it gave her a break. 2, it let her other teammates compete in games that she would have won in, so it gave them an opportunity to win.
Yeah.
And 3, how important is it to have someone to look up to that's like, I'm taking my mental health seriously, I'm going to take a break. If you feel like that, you should too.
Oh my god, I couldn't love her more for that.
Yeah. And look at the backlash she got. Just nuts.
Well, those people are cunts. One of them was Piers Morgan, who can fucking suck my bleedy dick. Like, I hate that guy. I fucking hate him.
Honestly, and who actually likes him? He's on TV because people love to hate him.
Yeah. He's like Simon Cowell in the Pop Idol days, I think.
Yeah.
Also, the fucking cheek of the man to go, oh, my mental health. He stormed off of a TV show.
Exactly.
I'm like,
because he couldn't handle them talking about him, something about Meghan Markle, right? He couldn't handle it anymore.
And it's like, oh, Piers Morgan is attacking a woman of colour again. Jesus. Yeah. What a shock.
Here we go. Yeah. So anyways, good job, Simone Biles. And then she took a few games off and then she went and competed and she won. So
good.
Great.
Fucking nailed it. Happens. Good for her.
Yes.
Yeah. Mental health is, oh my God. After this week, honestly, when I say I was suicidal, I don't mean that in a flippant way. Not oh my God, I felt like I want to kill myself. Genuinely was if I kill myself, I don't have to feel like this anymore. That's how bad it feels. And if you feel that way and you want to take a day off of your fucking gymnastics, what's more important? Gymnastics or you're dead.
Your life. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're dead, you can't play gymnastics.
Right.
Or, compete in gymnastics. Play in gymnastics makes it sound like she's in fucking playground. I know it's her career. But, it's just and I've had people lately say stuff to me oh, you should come off antidepressants, they haven't been tested enough and stuff. And it's I would never tell someone who was fucking diabetic not to take their insulin. 1, because I'm not a doctor. And 2, I understand, because I'm not a fucking idiot, that their pancreas can't make insulin. So they need to inject it artificially or they will die. Will people not understand that my brain doesn't make enough serotonin I need to take some artificially, otherwise it doesn't work properly. Like, when will you learn that is how it works?
Sense.
I can't explain it any more simply than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. That was a real rant, but I think it was important.
It's okay. It's very important. And I'm sad that you were going through that. And I want to tell anyone who is going through that they can talk to us. You talk to me.
Of course you can, mate.
Talicza, you talk to me. I was like, yes, I'm here for you. Like, talk to a friend. Talk to your podcast friends.
Oh, you're going to make me cry, mate. You're going to make me cry. Rachael does this every time. Like,
oh, I'm sorry.
You don't know this, listeners. But basically, when I first, I might have mentioned it like 100 episodes ago. But like, when I first came to America, on my travels,
back in the 1860s on the Mayflower,
when we used steam
That's the
engines.
Wrong year. Yeah.
When I first came to America, I'd just been broken up with, and like every time I spoke about it, Rachael would be like, I get how you feel, like I understand, and it's okay to be sad. And I would just be like, good God, Rachael, how do you do it? I swear I was dehydrated that entire trip. Just from like pure crying. Oh God.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Well, yeah, if you're feeling bad, listeners, find a friend or
drop us a
we'll be
line.
your friend.
Yeah, drop us a line anytime. I will.
Yes.
I run the socials and I'm always on my fucking phone, so don't worry about that.
Yeah.
I'm here.
I don't run the socials, but I'm around.
Rachael is definitely around. If you want to fucking cry because someone's being so sweet to you, then she's your woman. Jesus. Yes. If you want more of like a bitter moan, I'm more there. Like, anything sort of bitter and twisted, hate, that I can cover all of those. Rachael's more because, pure love.
Yeah. It's funny because I've been getting a lot of... We need to get into our episode, by the way. It's
really do.
But anyways, I've been getting a lot of comments from listeners who are like, you guys are so different.
I know.
But it works really well. So
we are different.
We're very different, but that's what makes it great.
Yeah, you have to respect each other's personality and appreciate it, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Is what it is. Okay, let's get to the episode.
Let's talk about murder.
Moida.
So mine's a little short this week.
Good, because mine's
I've
long.
Had a busy week, okay?
No one's judging.
I'm judging myself.
I judge me.
Yes.
24/7.
Yeah. I'm telling this story because somebody actually told it to me this past week, and I thought it was kind of inspiring. Even though it's horrible, it's a horrible story. So,
okay.
All right. On the weekend of May 30th, 1964, the Gable family, Mac, Katie, and their 15-year-old son, Dan, were on a fishing trip in rural Iowa, a few hours from their home in Waterloo, Iowa. Dan had just had a long week of training for wrestling tournaments for his high school, and he and his parents would often rent a cabin and go fishing, along with Dan's 19-year-old sister, Diane. This time, though, Diane had stayed home to finish up her work week. She was supposed to meet them at the cabin that weekend. When she never arrived, the family began to worry.
Oh, no.
We know where this is going. So the cabin that they were staying in did not have a phone. Also, you can listen to, there's some really good articles about this specific guy, Dan Gable, who was 15 years old during this time. He was talking about them staying in this cabin, and he was like, these cabins were so cheap, they were like $4 a night. Nice. Yeah. They were cheap, so they didn't have phones. They didn't have like personal phones. Also, it's the 60s, so... Yeah, if you had a phone in the 60s, you're pretty fancy, right? Right. I'm even thinking of when we did the Ted Kennedy story, and oh God, don't bring that up again. Go for... I'm sorry. That was in the 60s as
Dig
well.
Dig up that old corpse.
Sorry. to our one hate mail.
Best hate mail ever, though. Best hate mail ever. Right, yeah, no, so he had to swim to a phone.
Yeah, he had to swim from one spot to another to get to a phone. So, yeah, it was
life
the
was
60s.
inconvenient.
Or more simple, which could be nice.
Depending on how you look at it.
Yeah. So, they didn't have a phone. Instead, the block of cabins all shared one payphone at the end of their block. So, the parents and Dan drove to the payphone together. They called home, and when no one answered the home phone, Mac called a neighbor to go check on Diane. The neighbor said that the car was still there, and it sounded like the TV or radio was still on, but the door was locked.
Okay.
Mac told the neighbor to break into the house and check on Diane. Like, they were freaking out because this wasn't like her. They were a very close-knit family.
Well, anything could have happened. She could just collapsed or like be ill.
Yeah. Right.
Doesn't necessarily have to be like nefarious.
Yeah, she could have slipped in the shower or fainted. I don't know. So they hung up the phone. Like, how stressful would this be? You're on a payphone and you're telling the neighbor, okay, go check on her. Like, it's not like now where you get a play-by-play
you sit
because
there
you're
and
on
wait.
a cell phone. Yeah.
You're on a payphone and what did they hang up and wait for them to call back?
Yeah, they had to hang up and wait there by the payphone for them to call back.
Calling a payphone number.
Right.
Oh.
Dan, the 15-year-old, is sitting in the back seat of the car. He's watching his parents who are stressed out. Like, just anxiety all around.
Uh-huh.
The neighbor calls back, and their worst nightmare came true.
No.
The neighbor told Mac, so the dad is on the phone. He said Diane was dead on the living room floor. She was half naked, and there was a lot of blood.
I was just about to say, like, how would you know? But then if you're half naked, not moving, loads of blood, probably dead. Yeah.
Yeah. The police were called, and the family rushed to pack up their things in the cabin and drive back to Waterloo. And I don't want to plug Joe Rogan's podcast, but he had this guy on. He had this guy on, and he was talking about that day of what happened. And he said, like, his dad said to his mom, Diane isn't alive. And she ran out of the car, ran back to the cabin, and she just started hitting her head on the floor. And she just kind of went a little bit crazy.
I mean, you would just want that not to be reality. You're like, please say this is a fucking dream. Please say I imagined him saying that. Like, yeah. Also, like, the annoying thing about Joe Rogan is he has on the best people.
He really does.
His guest list is fucking insane. But he's like an anti-vaxxer, like, or he's like, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I just think that I'm too strong to have it. Like, my penis is so big, I don't need the vaccine. Like, shut the fuck up.
I am a penis.
You are a fucking big wang. Oh, shut up.
Watch, Talicza, someday we'll be on his podcast.
Yeah, we really
And then
will.
you could say that to his face.
And then I'll turn a table over.
Yeah.
Just storm out.
Yeah, that'll get some views and listeners.
Really will.
Anyways, back to this. This is, this deserves some
respect.
Solemnness. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the family packed up their things. He said that they left half their stuff. They just packed it all, got in the car.
Fuck it.
Started to drive back. They were a few hours away too. So imagine that car ride.
So helpless.
Yeah.
Like every red light, every car that's in your way. Yeah. You'd be speeding the whole way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You wouldn't give a fuck.
Yeah. So Dan is sitting in the back seat of the car as he's watching his parents freak out as they're driving home. And he's sitting there thinking, and he said to them, I think I know something about this.
No.
And his dad was driving. he slams on the brakes and he got out of the car and he pulled Dan out of the car and he had him by his neck and he's like, what the
No.
hell are you talking about? Why? What are you talking about?
Oh my God, this
And
whole thing
so
is so horrible.
it's like a movie.
Yeah.
So Dan told him that a few weeks ago he was walking to school with a neighbor kid, 16-year-old Tom Kyle. Kyle had seen Diane and started talking aggressively to Dan about how attractive Diane was and what he would do to her. And so Dan in the car, this immediately came to his mind. At the time, he was like,
two and two together.
Yeah, at the time though, he just passed it off as like, oh, this is like dumb guy talk. And he was
Which in the 60s is totally okay. Like,
right.
No one's pulling you up on that in the 60s.
Yeah, exactly. But he said he was going to tell his sister. He always had this regret of like, if I had told my sister, then maybe she wouldn't have been around him or spent time with him.
Oh, that's not fair.
She would have been more wary of Tom Kyle.
I don't think that's fair. I think that's like...
I mean, you would, as a brother or a sister, you would be thinking of those things. You know, what could you have done differently? So, in the moment in the car, as he went back with his parents, he knew that it was Tom Kyle. When Dan told his dad this, his dad like slapped him across the face and then gave him a hug. He didn't know what he was going to say. Like he said, I think I know something about this. So they started driving back. And then immediately when they saw another payphone, they stopped to call the Waterloo police to tell them what Dan had said.
Oh my God. Rachel, I'm so gripped. Fucking hell, I'm like, my heart is going.
Yeah. There's a really, really good, it's very long, an ESPN article, and it tells the story of Dan Gable, and he relays like this day and what happened afterwards and, you know, how it affected him and everything. So
they do some really good podcasts. 30 for 30 is amazing.
Oh my gosh, they really do.
30 for 30 is fucking well good. Check it out.
I wonder if they might have done him actually. I should look that up. But there is a really good article. Yeah, so they're driving back to Waterloo. Meanwhile, the police, after they got that call, they immediately went to Tom Kyle's home, where his parents told him that he was at work. He basically did this and then went to work the next day, where he was bagging groceries at the local grocery store. The police went there, where Kyle almost immediately admitted to raping and killing Diane Gable. He just told them.
Weird.
Yeah.
Also, isn't there a thing like obviously I read a lot of FBI stuff, and they look at suspects, and they're like, sometimes after they've committed a murder, they won't be at work the next day. That's a good way to tell if they're guilty, because like obviously they either have to clean up or they are overwhelmed or whatever. Like, so if they're off work that day or they don't turn up to work around the time of the murder, then that's quite a good indicator. Right.
That's so true. I think they say that about Israel Keyes, maybe even Tom Bundy.
Ted Bundy.
Sorry, I was just reading Tom Kyle's. Ted Bundy.
I was like, Rachel, you know this. Come on.
Yes. Also,
I was like, I know that was just a slip of the tongue.
1:30 in the morning.
Fuck me, is it? I thought it was earlier than that. God, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
It's Saturday tomorrow. I can sleep in.
Okay.
So back to this. So he almost immediately admitted it. Because he's a juvenile, they brought in like a juvenile officer, a female one, thinking that it would be like more gentle for him to admit. But he just admitted it anyway. Mm-hmm. He was also the son of a prominent family in Waterloo, so he was taken to the station where his parents and he had like 2 or 3 family lawyers meet him there.
Oh, you fucking...
Oh,
I know what's going to happen here. You little shit.
Yeah. So what they learned was The night before, on Saturday, May 31st, Diane had about 7 other youths at the Gable house. I want to say teens, but then some of them weren't, like, they were ranging from 16 to 20 years old.
They're just younger than us.
16.
That's what they are.
Yes, youths.
Yeah.
All you youths.
Yeah.
Tom Kyle was one of these 7, and at the end of the night, he had left the house with the others. Diane had also left with friends, but she returned home at midnight. She came back with Tom Kyle and a couple other people, including her boyfriend. Her boyfriend left at about 1:30 in the morning. Also, how guilty would you feel as her boyfriend?
Well, what do you think's going to happen? Like, you don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
She's in her own fucking house.
Right.
Like,
and it's
she's
a neighbor
a grown
kid.
woman.
Like, he's probably hung out there before, and, you know, they all hang out together.
There is no way he could have known.
Right. Nobody could have known. Diane told Tom Kyle that she would drive him to another girl's house. So that was his, like, reason for sticking behind after her boyfriend left.
Yeah.
So he didn't exactly admit what he did, but the police came to the conclusion that there was a struggle in the home, and Diane was raped and then stabbed several times with the kitchen knife.
Like a knife from the house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is annoying because then the defense could say it wasn't premeditated because he didn't bring a knife.
That's true. Well, they
get into it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So as Tom Kyle prepared for trial with his lawyers trying to avoid the death penalty because A, he was a juvenile, and B, he came from a rich family. So he started going through that whole thing. The Gable family started falling apart. Mac and Katie began drinking and fighting. They just couldn't handle being in the house.
Happens so much.
Dan didn't want to move from the house. He convinced them to stay.
And no one wants to buy it, really.
Yeah,
and if you did sell it, it's going to be for like fucking 10p. So you're like, why bother?
Also, in the 60s, people just didn't move. That wasn't
did they?
Thing. No.
Not unless they got a job like across the country.
Right. And even then, it was like the husband got the job. He's going to go across the country.
Yeah. What was that?
I don't know. So they also left Diane's room completely untouched. They just weren't handling it well.
No.
Dan, on the other hand, he continued to train for wrestling matches, but his parents continued down a dark spiral. As they waited for trial, they barely noticed Dan at all.
So that's his sport connection. He's a wrestler. Was he quite a famous wrestler?
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
On his way up. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So until one night, he had had enough of his parents fighting, and he slept in Diane's room. And that was kind of that was like his way of being like, hey, I'm still here. You know, there's still one sibling alive. There's still one child alive.
That's so difficult because it's like, of course they're going to be so cut up. They don't know what the fuck to do. But
yeah,
obviously he needs help as well. But like, you can't blame his parents for just being like annihilated.
Right. Exactly.
Difficult one.
So him sleeping in the room was the turning point for the family. The next morning, he moved his things into her room. Like, the parents, they didn't, like, do or say anything, but they were just like, oh, shit. We gotta start taking notice of our son.
It was the 60s. I don't think we'll be talking about this, please. I think we'll just be...
We will just look at it.
Yeah. It will just happen quietly around us.
Yes. So Mac and Katie began going to every one of Dan's wrestling matches. They stopped fighting and put all of their attention into supporting Dan. In his high school wrestling career, after this, he never lost a match.
Oh,
never.
Yes, Dan.
Yeah. There was one comment, and it was like, when he fought, there was something else inside of him that
fucking
was trying
rage.
To come out. Yes.
Yeah.
So during that time, Tom Kyle's charges went to trial. During court hearings, Kyle admitted to, in quotes, always wanting to kill someone. He just, she was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. He just knew that he wanted to kill people.
Fuck's sake.
So, in a way, it's really, really sad, but him doing that to her stopped him from, like, continuing doing it to anyone else.
And rape. Let's not forget the rape. Like, he didn't really want to kill a guy. He wanted to murder a woman.
That's true.
So that he could rape her first.
Right. So he said he had no regrets, and he even threatened the Gable family during the trial, telling them that he was going to kill them all. He literally,
get that fucker on death row. I hate this guy.
So in October that year, he was sentenced to life in prison, found guilty of first-degree murder. He was immediately sent to prison, where he just stayed for a long time, but he escaped from the Iowa State Penitentiary on March 29th, 1977. He was eventually apprehended in Florida. Why does everyone... Ted Bundy went to Florida too. Like, what's Florida?
There's some sort of magnetic pull for maniacs. Like, you can blend in, like, just being a nutcase. And also, like, what is with prison security in the fucking 70s? Was everyone high?
Oh, man.
Like, watch the windows. For God's sake. You've got one job.
Put some more men on staff, maybe.
So many escapes in the 70s. Mad. You do not hear that now, do you? In the 70s. No.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, this was
I think it was late 70s Ted Bundy escaped because he wasn't executed until like 1989. So
you're right.
Yeah, maybe very early 80s, late 70s.
Yeah, so he was eventually apprehended in Florida, and he returned to Iowa custody in November 1977. So he escaped in March. He had a nice little vacation.
Shit, he really did.
And they didn't.
He could have killed someone in that time, and they never would have known.
Totally could have, or raped someone, or done something.
Definitely. Yeah. It would have just been a cold case, Jane Doe, especially if they were a sex worker or something.
Yeah, I wonder. That's a good point. So he was in prison for pretty much the rest of his life. But let's talk about Dan Gable.
Yeah.
So from 1967 to 1970, Dan Gable attended Iowa State University, where he competed in folk-style wrestling. I have no idea what it is.
Oh, God.
At Iowa State, he became an NCAA Division I national runner-up and two-time national champion. His college career record was 117-1, which means he only lost one match.
That better have been to, like, Andre the Giant. Who gets a lot of airtime on this podcast.
Yeah, he really does.
I don't know why. I think I'm secretly obsessed with him.
Yeah. Maybe we should do a story on him sometime.
Just
like
definitely.
A nice light story.
Yeah. Yeah, he's such an interesting person. Well, it's French though.
He is.
Which puts me off. I've only just, like I say, I dated a Welshman and I've only just gotten over that. So I need a little bit of a while to get over the French, and then we can probably go for it.
Yeah. Okay. No problem. Yeah, so he only lost one match, and in his interview, I think with Joe Rogan, or he might have said it somewhere else, he said that it was very important for him to lose that match because he just needed it.
Like, everyone has to get dumped once. You can't always be the dumpy, the dumper.
Can't be perfect.
No, it's not good for your self-esteem.
No. He lost to a guy called Larry Owings of the University of Washington. And then, so in 1972, Dan Gable went on to compete in the Olympics, where he won all 6 of his matches without giving up a point. He had gone his whole wrestling career only losing one match, and he retired from competing and became a wrestling coach, coaching for several Olympic and world teams.
Wow.
Last year, he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Trump.
Still.
Yeah. When Trump noted that he was a little bigger than Gable, He is. I think Trump is pretty tall.
It's annoying.
Trump
I have looked into this because remember we were talking about President heights.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nearly
right.
all presidents are over 6 foot, and Trump's about 6'2" or 3".
Yeah.
Doesn't look it though, does he?
I guess maybe
3 inches of that has got to be his stupid fluffy hair.
Yeah. I just think of his big shoulders. His shoulders overtake his head. Like, that's how I imagine him.
He's still carved out of human shit. No matter how tall or big he is or small, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay, so you'll like this. So Trump said that he made a comment about how he was taller than Gable, and Trump asked him if he would have a shot at beating him at wrestling. Of course he said that. And
I want Dan to fucking make him cry.
He said you would have no chance.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I love him.
So that's Dan Gable. He seems like a great guy.
Amazing.
He got married and he had 4 daughters.
Oh.
And yeah, so Tom Kyle died in Kansas State Prison in 2011. He said on his deathbed that he regretted killing Diane because she was, in quotes, a nice girl.
Rest in piss, motherfucker.
Yeah. And Dan Gable said that he got that call. He got that call when he was on a fishing trip and he was going past the same payphone that they had called to find out. Yeah. He got the call to say that Tom Kyle had died right as he was going past that payphone.
Wow.
And he said that after he heard that Tom Kyle had regretted killing her because she was nice, he said that that was a huge release for him for some reason. And he cried for an hour and he was able to like let go of a bunch of things.
I think it's probably because he never ever said sorry.
Yeah, that's probably it. And
until now,
even though Dan Gable seems like such a nice, amazing person, he's held a lot of hate, not hatred, but like negative feelings towards Tom Kyle. And I think when someone dies fair. That you hate, there's probably a huge release that happens.
Rachel, you don't have to tell me. I wish people dead for like the littlest thing.
We know that when you're the queen of an island, there will be many executions.
The heads on spikes will be like fucking go on for miles. Yeah, what a great guy. I'm going to Google him. He sounds awesome.
He is. He is worth listening to the Joe Rogan podcast just for that. And I have one last little bit. Mm-hmm. So this past year, 21-year-old Gable Steveson won Olympic gold in wrestling for the U.S. at the 2021 Olympics. He was named after Dan Gable.
Yeah, that's such a weird coinkydink. Like, you don't know that your kid is going to grow up to be a fucking great wrestler. Like, obviously you hope that for them. There's a thing called nominative determinism where, like, if you're called something Baker, you're more likely to become a baker.
Okay.
Your name determines your path in life. Like,
I really do. I think it does.
It's a theory.
I think it affects it for sure.
Yeah. Carly always says, like, if I didn't have a weird name, I wouldn't be the same person. I
think could be true.
I think it's true. I think I'd still be a bit weird, but like, yeah, I probably wouldn't be so like needlessly confident. Okay, so let's just leave that hanging in the air like the bad fart that it is. Right.
Maybe you wouldn't have a podcast.
Maybe I wouldn't have a podcast. Very true.
Yeah.
So my story this week is, it's difficult, right? Because you have in the US, I thought like that, I've never heard that story before. And I thought that you could have gone for anything. You could have gone for like OJ, like there's just shit. Yeah, there's shitloads of like high profile crimes.
Yeah, I think last time when we did sports, I did a basketball player. But there is. Listen to Crime in Sports. There's so many crimes in sports in the US. It's a great podcast.
There's so many that they have been able to do a series for hundreds of episodes. Like, I don't know what the connection is. Maybe because you have guns over there. Like, maybe, I don't know. Like, maybe drug use is a bit different. I don't know. But sports players in America go fucking nuts. So I had a bit of trouble, trying to find something. So I came in last night and I was like, I really need to write a fucking story, like, about sports. Can anyone think of anything? And my stepdad said OJ, and I was like, it has to be English. and then my mum went, she'd had a whole bottle of Prosecco, but she still pulled this out the bag. She was like,
yes.
She was like, what about that guy? Bleep, bleep. Obviously don't want to give the story away. I was like, yes, Georgie. So like, this is the story. Yeah, so this is all Georgie, this one. The story is about a man called Barry Bennell. Okay. So Barry Bennell was a junior football coach and a youth scout. He had a reputation for finding the professional football club's next young stars. As being a footballer is most young boys' dream, Barry got the nickname the Pied Piper, who told young footballers he could make their dreams come true. So basically in England, obviously you call it soccer. It's a bit like, college football. Like, there's a certain age that you are scouted for being a good football player. And if you haven't made it by that age, you're probably not going to. Well, you're almost definitely not going to. So the same is true of football here. So basically they get kids of like 8, from the age of like 8, and they put them in special like after school clubs, and they train them like relentlessly because
and they don't even do that just in England. English scouts go to like Africa and Spain and
South America
India,
a lot.
And they like
South Americans are really good at football.
Children out.
Yeah, they do. Because there's so much money in it. If you find the next, I don't know, David Beckham or whatever, like that's just money. So. And it's every boy's dream, like nearly every boy's dream, to become a footballer. So Barry Bennell was once a youth player at a huge London football club called Chelsea Football Club. He worked with Crewe Alexandra, which is a really small football club famous for developing talented young players. Crewe is in the Midlands, just below Liverpool, Manchester. It's next to North Wales and Stoke-on-Trent. So it's sort of like Midlands. And he worked there from around 1984. And this is where it gets weird, until he was sacked in 1992 and the reasons were not made public. Of course they weren't.
What do you think that was?
Well, I don't know, Rachel. Let's see. Before his sacking... Oh, do you remember last week I said I didn't know what sacking was? I thought it was where you were literally put in a sack. Nope. It means you got fired.
I love that.
So before his sacking, he worked at least 4 English professional clubs. So these are huge. So he worked at Manchester City, Stoke City, and Leeds United. Also, side note, right? There's Man United and Man City. So Manchester has 2 football clubs, and they're in like fierce competition because but Man United nearly always wins because they're better.
They always beat everyone.
And that's not me knowing anything about football or caring if Man City or Man United are better. It's just a fact that Man United always win, right? So you know the band Oasis?
Yes.
They're an English band. They're from Manchester, and the brothers that were in the band like famously fell out. And they were both at a Manchester City game, and like the camera was like on both of them, sort of separate parts of the fucking stadium. And on Twitter, they're called Liam and Noel. Liam's like a bit more of a dick than Noel is. Like Noel's a bit more low key. So Noel put on his Twitter, "Ask me anything," and then his brother put underneath, "Why are you such a cunt?" Oh, I was like, you were absolutely begging for that. That is such a brother thing to do.
It's such a brother thing to do.
Oh, brilliant.
And they're like, what? They're like in their 50s now, right?
Yeah,
like,
they are fucking
come
beyond
on, guys.
that.
Grow up.
They won't even sit next to each other at the same football game.
Yeah.
So good. So sorry about that side note. It was just, I just had to say it because it's one of my favourite things to happen on Twitter ever. Ask me anything. Right. So he worked for, before he got sacked from Crewe, he worked for Manchester City, Stoke City and Leeds United. And from 1992 to 1994, he was the head coach of the Staffordshire side. They're called the Stone Dominoes. That's like their team name. You know, like the Minnesota Vikings or whatever.
Yeah.
So all of these places are like in the northwest and in the Midlands of England. And he had a reputation as the best youth coach in the country. So, because in England, like London is kind of, London's the capital, and the south is always considered like stuff always just happens in the south. So from him to come from the north and for this to happen is actually like a bit of a bigger deal.
Right.
So because of his reputation, boys would come to him, and he ran camps in places like Butlins. That's where my nan pissed on the mattress. Sorry, no, Tom pissed on the mattress, and Nan said, "You can blame me." So that's the kind of Butlins. That's the kind of places we're talking about. In the UK, and youth football tours, and the Staffordshire Dominoes had soccer camps in Florida in the USA. Fucking Florida, man! Just don't go to Florida. Just ban flights in and out of Florida.
I mean, that's where all the baseball teams go to train as well. It's just nice weather.
Where do they train though? A swamp? Like, it's so swampy.
There's like nice stadiums there. Disney World is there. NASA
True,
is
Disney
there.
World's a big pool. So, however, in 1994, a 13-year-old British boy who went on one of the Florida trips told his parents that Bonnell had sexually abused him while he was in one of the camps in the US. So the trip was arranged for boys from the ages of 11 to 14. So that was obviously Bonnell's preference. As the crime happened in Florida, now I'm quite impressed with this. The police there dealt with the crime, and he was sentenced to 4 years in a US prison. I'm actually pretty impressed with that. Like, they never let him go, which is kind of cool. American police described him as a man with an insatiable appetite for young boys. That is never good.
Oh,
the Florida conviction, so the Florida conviction like kicked everything off. So the loads of boys in the UK were then asked if they'd ever been abused by him. And in 1996, a Channel 4 program called Dispatches, which is like it's a really famous program. Like, we have like Panorama and Dispatches. Like, you have 60 Minutes, right?
It's like 60 Minutes or 2020 or
it's expose journalism.
Dateline,
they look into, what is the fucking word? Like, it's just really early. They look into like controversial topics and scandals, basically, don't they? So it was made by a journalist called Deborah Davies, and it also outed other football coaches. So I don't know who these are, but if you do, then you know they're scum. So Keith Ketley in Ipswich, where you used to live, and then Bob Higgins in Hampshire, where I currently am.
Wow.
So that's gross and weird.
Claim to fame, weirdly.
Yeah. Paedophiles everywhere, though, so can't really claim that one. One of the men who featured in the programme was a footballer called Ian Ackley. He was an ex-footballer, so I don't know who he played for, but obviously if you care, look it up. Who revealed he had been repeatedly raped by Bonnell. He said the abuse began when he was invited to stay at Bonnell's house in the Peak District. So the Peak District, again, it's in the Midlands. I really want to go there. I've never been. It's beautiful. Like, it's the place where we have mountains in the UK, which we don't really have. There's like loads of mountains and loads of lakes, and it's just gorgeous, like natural.
Yeah, a lot of people go on like their holiday or vacation there just because
like a
just
staycation,
so nice and serene and beautiful.
Yeah. So he's obviously rich, so he's got a lovely house there that's in the middle of nowhere where he can invite boys to do whatever he wants. See, this is like, right, so sorry, I'll just carry on with the story. As well as the nights away, because there's more stuff that happens that I'm just going to like it goes under the umbrella of what I was just about to whinge about.
Yes.
As well as nights away and weekends and during school holidays, he also attended football tours and camps run by Bonnell, and he had been raped more than 100 times between 1979 and 1983.
Goodness.
That is
Wow.
fucking insane.
Yeah.
So as a result, although Bonnell did not serve the full term of imprisonment in America, he was arrested again on his return to England.
Good.
So they were like, you are going nowhere, motherfucker.
Yeah.
So in February 1998, Bonnell appeared at Mold Crown Court in North Wales and pleaded not guilty to, because that's where the Butlins was in Wales. And pleaded not guilty to charges of indecent assault, buggery, and attempted buggery, dating back. That's such a fucking antiquated term.
It is.
Also, like,
does anyone use that anymore?
Well, English people say, "Oh, bugger this," or like,
yeah, but I mean, like, officially in court.
No, like, oh,
Yeah.
were you buggered? Like, well, you might say that if somebody went to private school, you'd be like, oh, were you buggered? Because it's just like such an old way of describing that type of sexual assault. Like,
yeah.
Like, for example,
speaking of that, I was trying to explain to someone this past week. They were talking about Boris
where is
Johnson.
this going?
I'll tell you where it's going.
Boris Johnson, yeah.
Talking about Boris Johnson, and they're like, oh, he said like the best insult. Like, he called someone like a bovine, and I was like, I was trying to explain that that's like a private school, like posh.
It really
like,
is.
Also,
don't praise him in any way.
No, that's exactly what I was saying. I was like, dude,
he's a piece of shit.
Don't. Yeah, I was trying to explain like bovine, just like buggered.
Yeah, is a very antiquated
it's like something
word
that a rich, affluent
cunt would say,
white boy would say.
Yeah, exactly. Probably about a woman who didn't want to fuck them, or something of that nature. So yeah, like, so they all went to fucking Eton, and they all went to the same private school. Like everyone in everyone in British politics, they all know each other, and there's like good authority that Boris Johnson was sexually abused at boarding school.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, loads of people were. A guy on like a documentary that I watched about child sexual abuse, because I just fucking do that in my spare time for some reason, was like, yeah, I went to the same school as Boris Johnson, and I fucking know that he was sexually abused. Like, he would never admit it, but he was, you know.
Men
I guess
will
that's
literally get into politics.
They'll literally go in a penis-shaped rocket
therapy.
rather than admit something happened to them. Yeah, so in February 1998, he appeared at the North Wales court, and he pled not guilty to charges of indecent assault, buggery, and attempted buggery dating back to the 1970s and 1980s through to 1992. Decades of abuse.
That's nuts.
It is, against children aged between 9 and 15.
No.
And it's gross that at 15 he just loses interest. Like, how sexually confusing is that for a 15-year-old? Like, somebody who you respect and admire has like taken you under their wing and then like tells you that you're special, and then basically dumps you. Like, in your eyes, at 15, you're no good to them anymore.
Right.
You're never going to connect that in your head with the fact that they're a paedophile and they don't find you attractive anymore.
No. Yeah.
You're going to connect that with your self-esteem.
Was he in any like normal adult relationships? Like, was he married or?
Yeah, that's a good question. Cliff Richard is a very good example.
Right.
Jimmy Savile is a very good example.
Yes.
They don't. I mean, I'm not saying that if you have a wife, you can't be a paedophile, but loads of people don't have any adult relationships, and they're like, no one fucking says anything. Like,
right.
In June, this is a whole nother fucking road. In June 2019, shortly before the publication of Andy Woodward's biography, which Andy Woodward is a victim, I think, The Guardian reported that Barry Bennell's cousin, Ronald Bonnell, had been jailed in 1971 for the murder of Woodward's aunt.
What?
And that Barry Bennell had married Woodward's older sister, also named Linda, in 1991. So he did have adult relationships. He was married to the sister of one of his victims.
What?
Lovely. Probably also just to get more access to your victim.
Oh my God. This is melting my brain right now.
He's evil. He clearly fucking married her, so he had more access.
Gross.
So, yeah, his victim, Andy Woodward, he married his older sister, Linda Woodward, in 1991, which is the height of his
success.
Abuse. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and success. Yeah, definitely. So the offences were they did take place in Derbyshire, in the Crewe area, and at Butlins in, I don't know how to say this, I think it's Fweli. It's Pwllhleli, probably Fweli, I reckon.
Yeah, I think you're right.
North Wales. Bonnell was remanded in custody to appear at Chester Crown Court in June 1998. He then pleaded guilty to 23 charges, all relating to offences committed in the 70s, 80s and 90s, and then he was jailed for a further 9 years in the UK.
Only 9?
Yeah. A further 22 allegations were left to lie on his file as the police discovered that the victims just didn't want to go through the trial. They didn't want to be outed, basically. But they know that he did that. So in 2015 at Chester Crown Court, he was charged again after enough evidence was collected to make a conviction. He pled guilty to 2 counts of indecent assault and 2 counts of enticing a boy under the age of 14 to commit an act of gross indecency in the 1980s. And for that, he was jailed for a further 2 years. So he's just adding on and on and on to his sentence.
Yeah. Still, they're really minimal.
They are. But that's the fucking annoying thing about this country. Like, it doesn't matter how many times you do a petty crime, the sentence is still the same. It's not like in California where you have that 3 strikes law. Like, if you do something 3 times, you're automatically put in prison for life, which I don't know if that's bad or good. Like,
I think
in some cases it's good.
Yeah. Like, I'm specifically thinking of, well, maybe I'll wait till you get to the end to talk about what it reminds me of.
Okay. So in 2016, Andy Woodward, an ex-Crewe and Sheffield United footballer, so he's the guy that's basically his brother-in-law now.
Okay. Yeah.
So he spoke to the Guardian newspaper and said that when he was 11, he played for Stockport Boys Club. He said that within 3 or 4 weeks of being scouted, he'd been invited to stay at Bonnell's home, and there he was abused from the age of 11 to 15.
Wow.
And he said, and this is fucking Michael Jackson-y, right? When you walked through the door, there were 3 fruit machines. He had a pool table. There was a little monkey upstairs in a cage that would sit on your shoulder. He had two Pyrenean mountain dogs, and he even kept a wild cat. So, like, just what can I get that kids would be interested in?
Yeah.
That's
also,
what fucking Michael Jackson
what
did.
A fruit machine is, because we don't really have them here.
Oh yeah, we call them fruities, and they're basically like a one-armed bandit. What do you call that? Slot machine.
Like a slot machine.
Yeah, it's basically a slot machine.
Yeah.
But it's called a fruit machine because there's fruit that is the symbols that you have to match.
Yeah.
The 3 fruits.
Right.
It's like a lemon, pear, apple, orange. I never played on one because I don't know how they work.
I mean, if you have them at your house, a kid is going to love that.
You're not allowed to play on them in pubs if you're under 18.
Really?
So, yeah.
I didn't know that.
They're not a kid's game. They're a betting game. They're like a casino.
Yeah, but still,
so,
I mean, it's enticing. Anything where a kid can, like, bright colors and
it's like, you're not supposed to use this.
Right.
You're not allowed to use this. If a kid
exciting.
started playing on one, it's like giving kids cigarettes and stuff. Like, you're not allowed to use it in a pub. So if it's at someone's house, I go, yeah, go ahead. How exciting is that if you're a kid? Ooh,
right.
Something I'm not allowed to do.
Yeah.
And a monkey. Fuck me, I'd be there.
A monkey. Yeah.
And the two mountain dogs. A pool table
just
isn't
all
like
the animals.
I'd go there. Imagine being a fucking 11-year-old boy. So as a result of this show, the show that aired in January, even more men came forward. And by November, Steve Walters, I don't know who any of these people are, Steve Walters, Chris Unsworth and Jason Dunford all admitted that they had been abused by Bonnell, as well as 3 other men.
Wow.
Chris Unsworth said he had stayed at Bonnell's house several times, saying he sometimes had 2 or 3 boys in a bed at once, but they would never speak to each other about it afterwards.
What?
So following this,
like Michael Jackson.
It really fucking is. The cheek of people that say Michael Jackson isn't a paedophile, like, fight me. Fucking fight me. Like, I hate you. Like, you're an idiot. You're a fucking moron if you think he wasn't a paedophile. On Friday the 28th of November 2016, Bonnell was found at an address in Nebworth Park, Stevenage. The police were called to a fear for welfare incident, and the 62-year-old was taken to hospital after being found unconscious. So he used to live in Milton Keynes, which was just above London, and then he moved because of all these allegations to somewhere where people didn't know him, which was Nebworth Park. And then the following day, he was charged with 5 counts of indecent assault on a boy, 2 counts of inciting a boy to commit an act of gross indecency, and 1 count of assault with intent to a serious sexual assault between 1981 and 1985. He was refused bail, but he denied the new charges. So all in all, I know I've given you a lot of information there, but all in all, he was charged with 55 offences of abuse.
Whoa.
Including
and he
serious...
denied them?
It's really weird. He admitted some and denied others. Like, obviously his lawyers were like, you can't get away with this one because of this, but you might be able to get off for this one. So he lawyers. Just picked and choose which he thought he would get away with.
And
so
probably
they were all
lesser sentences for some, and
true.
You know,
he'll like, I'll admit to that, but I won't admit to that.
Right.
So those 55 offences involved 12 boys aged 8 to 15, and remember, there's 22 other incidents that weren't brought to trial because the people didn't want to testify. And this was all between 1979 and 1991. So the Crown Court said that he was a child molester on an industrial scale. He preyed upon boys who cared only about one thing, becoming a professional footballer. Many would do anything to achieve their dream. The prosecutor in the case said, Barry Bennell knew that and he exploited that. So the Crew Club that he worked for said they knew nothing about it. But this was doubted when evidence came to light that Hamilton Smith, a director at the club from 1986 to 1990, told the Guardian newspaper that the club heard an allegation that Bonnell had sexually abused a junior footballer. However, he was allowed to stay at the club despite recommendations that the club should get him out, and raising concerns with Manchester City, so long as Bonnell was not left alone with the boys and was stopped from arranging overnight stays.
I totally believe that. I don't believe for a second that everyone didn't know, because when these things happen, people do talk, people do come forward and say things, and definitely you go to the people that he works with and they're like, oh, it's probably nothing, you know. I just don't believe it when people are like, oh, we didn't know. No, I don't believe it either. So secondly, on the 7th of December, the BBC reported that the mother of a former Crew youth team player wrote an anonymous letter to the club asking Dario Grady, who I think is like the head of the club, asking him to investigate inappropriate behaviour involving a member of staff who took lots of boys into his room overnight during a weekend away in Blackpool. So a mum has complained. Someone else has complained. So in April 2018, it was reported that Bonnell was appealing against his 30-year sentence, and in June 2018, his appeal was rejected. You, sir, may fuck off. On the 19th of March 2019, The Guardian reported that Crew Alexandra planned to contest victims' claims using specialist lawyers appointed for the club by Football League insurers with experience of defending child sex abuse allegations involving the Roman Catholic Church. What?
So the Crew Alexandra Football Club hired the same lawyers that the Roman Catholic Church hired.
Ugh, gross.
Yep. So they argued that under the Limitation Act of 1980, which I guess is just like what's it called? The Statute of Limitations. Yeah. The incident should be disregarded as victims had not reported them years earlier. However, on the 27th of March 2019, The Guardian reported an apparent U-turn in Crew's approach. It had agreed an out-of-court financial settlement. Classic Roman Catholic Church.
Classic anyone with money.
Yeah. So on the 18th of May 2020, Barry Bennell was 66 and he appeared in Warrington Magistrates Court via video link, and he was charged with 9 non-recent sexual offences in relation to two victims. He pled guilty to the 9 offences carried out between 1979 and 1988. And on the 8th of October, he was sentenced to an additional 4 years in prison after being convicted for the 5th time. So this term made his total jail sentence 34 years. So he will die in prison.
Good.
And that is the story of the piece of shit, Barry Bennell.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like I should know more about this, but I don't.
It involved a lot of people, not just him. It involved loads of football coaches, and it was just called like the English football sexual abuse scandal, like as an umbrella term.
That's what I mean. Like, do you think that it was made more quiet because so many people love football in England? It's like people don't want to know about it.
Also, I wonder if I don't know about it because I don't fucking care about football. Yeah, so those names mean nothing to me. Like, yeah, they might be like, really famous footballers.
Yeah, if you said those names to a guy who knows, that sentence was going nowhere. If you had said those,
no, I mean, yeah, no. If you had said that to a football fan, like a long-term football fan, they would maybe be like, "Oh my god!" Like, right? They were abused, like, yeah. So, but I don't know any of those people, so maybe that's why I didn't know about the story, and you didn't know. Like, if somebody told me, I don't know, an American football scandal, I wouldn't fucking know.
Yeah, you don't know their names.
No.
This story does remind me a lot of the Larry Nassar story.
Oh, God. I am in love with the judge that proceeded over his case. Oh, my... Yes. She needs an OBE. Fucking hell. Like, she
needs every and made kind him, of award.
Yep, she sat and made him listen to every victim impact statement, even though it took like 2 weeks. Just like they did with the Golden State Killer. Like, they let the victims give them fucking both barrels. And I just, oh my God, I'm in love with her.
The thing that I always remember about her is after all of this, of listening to impact statements, she then read a letter that he wrote her in front of everyone.
Called him out on his bullshit.
Yes, she quoted him saying, "Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned." And she read it, and then she looked at him, and she was like, "Clearly, you are not sorry."
No.
From this letter, you say that you're sorry. You cry in court, but you're not.
Also, a child that you violated is not a woman scorned. You obviously do not understand the impact you had.
Yeah.
You think, oh, she's just kicking off because she didn't want to be fingered. No, you're not allowed to touch people just because they're women in your care.
Yeah.
Your brain doesn't work properly.
And they are allowed to be as angry as they possibly want to be. You cannot make any comment about that.
Fuck that guy so hard, right up the arse, hopefully in a prison shower.
But he was sentenced to 100 years, which is why I was surprised about your story, because he only got 2 years here, 9 years there.
In England, historical abuse cases are classically badly dealt with because it goes right to the top. Fucking judges, policemen, massive names at the BBC, all of those people, did I say politicians? Have sexually assaulted and abused and raped children. Jimmy Savile, and Prince Andrew. Fucking Prince, the royal family are involved. Yeah. It's so difficult to fight against that, to get real impactful sentences for victims in historical child sex abuse. My friend Ruth works for the NSPCC. Like, She is coming over in November, isn't she? Like, me, you, and her are going to have a fucking talk about this on a podcast special.
We are.
About historical child sex abuse and how difficult it is to prosecute in England. And she has some amazing stories about like, I want to tell you now, but like, she tells it so much better. Anyway, we've been talking for an hour and 40 minutes and I've enjoyed it greatly and had a great time, but I'm really hungry and I'm sure you want to just collapse and sleep.
Yeah, you need to enjoy your day and I need to enjoy my sleep. So
one of these days Rachel will be on the same time schedule. One of these days.
The same continent, the same time zone.
Bitch,
but
one of us needs to move.
You're gonna have to come here because I've
weather's better.
I've had my fill of the English weather.
Yeah, fair play. All right then, pal. I'll speak to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Transatlantic Crime this week. If you liked what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe.
And if you'd like to follow us on social media, you can find us on Twitter at TransatCrimePod, Instagram at Transatlantic Crime, and on Facebook with Transatlantic Crime Podcast.
Thanks, bye.